there's no better business model than franchising. When a franchisor and a franchisee work together, it's a match made in heaven. There's no better business model. And we've chosen that route. We've chosen to support and guide entrepreneurs. Now, what's great about entrepreneurship with franchising is you get the freedoms, you get the satisfaction of owning your own business. You're owning your own business with a proven business model with guardrails, making sure that we're not deviating away from that brand, especially deviation away from the brand that entrepreneurs invested their hard-earned money into.
Welcome to Built4Profit Podcast, where entrepreneurs share real stories and strategies that actually work. We're here to inspire, challenge, and give you the playbook to profit with purpose. Let's get into it. Let's do it. Well, it's not every day that we have a brand president on the show, and talk about a comfy brand just make me think of comfort and warmth, which I guess is why they're associated with insulation. But we have Cory Lyons with us from Koala Insulation, and he's going to share some different insights on not only the brand, but also what he's seen in franchising, because he's got a lot of experience working in this brand and others. So Cory, welcome to the Built4Profit Podcast.
Welcome, Cory.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
President.
You know, when people think of energy and cost savings, that's not the first place that they think of, is like, let me check my insulation. But I'm sure you can give us a lot of stats on this. Like, I read that 30% of your leakage could be caused by the insulation.
Yeah, that's
right,
accurate.
Cory?
We also know that 90% of homes are under insulated.
I needed you and Koala Insulation at my house in college. I mean, that thing had no insulation, couldn't keep heat in to save its life. It was also like 100 years old. So that leads me to my question, which is how much of that is because of like when they were built? Like, are homes built now in that 10%?
Even in brand new homes, there's under insulation. That's just the reality. There was no code to insulation prior to 1980. That's why oftentimes with really old homes, you'll see newspapers, old beer cans in the wall acting as insulation, because there's no code. And we also know that code just means minimum. This is the minimum amount you can have in order to get a certificate of occupancy. So oftentimes recommended is higher than code.
And people always think of cold, being from Texas, then keeping the air in.
I'm originally from Minnesota.
100 degrees.
All growing up and through my early 40s was got to keep warm, keep the heat in, right? And thought of insulation as cold temperatures outside, keep the heat in. But that's what makes insulation such a great vertical. It's seasonally agnostic. It keeps your expensive conditioned air in the summer inside your home and keeps the hot out. But then in the wintertime, it's vice versa. It keeps the cold out and keeps the expensive conditioned warm air in your home as well.
Yeah. Cory, I'm going to ask the hard question. How did you wake up one day and go, this is a great concept. I'm going to have the ability to partake in this business model?
As the brand president, I took over from the founder. So I can't take the credit for starting the company by any means. I took over from the founder to really drive our organization to the next step and see what the future holds for our great brand. From my personal experience, I took a look at Koala Insulation and I fell in love right away with our branding. We're a home service organization. Home service organizations oftentimes are very stale. Well, we are a very friendly, approachable brand and utilizing our mascot, that warm, cuddly koala, right? So I said, wow, this is a home service brand that is approachable. Then as I continued to dive in and look at the brand, I fell in love with the brand for multiple different reasons. One reason that I really fell in love with the brand is the upside and the future. We've grown our brand into a very successful national insulation contractor through franchising. Now, our growth historically has been residential and residential retrofit. So what that means is an existing home fixing their existing insulation problems. We've taken the steps into the future, and now we're in commercial, industrial, new residential builds as we expand our business across multiple different verticals in the insulation space. That has driven us to be recognized as the #1 insulation franchise in North America, recently beating out a competitor that had a 14-year head start on us. So it's something that we're really proud of.
What about the insulation that you blow in?
So blown in insulation, the traditional is fiberglass. fiberglass. Now, when oftentimes a lot of people think of fiberglass insulation, it's the stuff, right? It's not very itchy anymore, but it's fiberglass. We also have cellulose, which is actually recycled newspapers, and that's oftentimes blown in as well. Those are by far the two most common types of blown in insulation into attics and walls.
I never knew it was newspaper. Also, I tell my kids, don't touch the insulation that's in like above the garage because I'm like, there's glass in there. Not knowing I'm telling them something that's not accurate anymore.
You don't
since
want to
it's a newer-
touch it. That's the reality, because what happens, a little bit of science behind insulation. What is preventing the heat transfer, either out or in, is millions and millions of tiny bubbles in between the fibers. That's what's taking place. And the millions and millions of little tiny bubbles are trapping the air from escaping. If you touch it or if you squeeze it, you're squeezing out millions and millions of little bubbles, right? So it becomes ineffective. You want the insulation to look fluffy, right? And because that's preventing the air transfer. So you don't want to touch it because you could ultimately ruin the integrity of the insulation.
All right, so let's take this down a different path. I know you said that Koala Insulation is a franchisee-first model, and that is how the business is really focused.
There's no better business model than franchising. I've been in this industry for 25 years. When a franchisor and a franchisee work together, it's a match made in heaven. There's no better business model, and we've chosen that route. We've chosen to support and guide entrepreneurs. Now, what's great about entrepreneurship with franchising is you get the freedoms, you get the satisfaction of owning your own business. You're owning your own business with a proven business model with guardrails, making sure that we're not deviating away from that brand, especially deviation away from the brand that entrepreneurs invested their hard-earned money into.
Yeah. Absolutely. Cory, you've seen so many entrepreneurs through the entrepreneurship journey. So what are some of the characteristics or habits or mindsets that you've seen in the ones that they make it successful?
Yeah, oftentimes it's the same between a positive journey or a negative journey. It's just the exact 180. And what I mean by that is, again, in franchising, entrepreneurs are requiring a proven system and proven process. It does take a special entrepreneur to be a highly successful franchisee, because you want that freedom, but you also want that guidance, right? Now, in my career, participation with the franchisor has been a guiding force for franchisees. And what I mean by that is, throughout my career, I've seen franchisees that participate in initiatives that franchisors offer and support systems and meetings. The locations and the entrepreneurs that are participating generally perform at a higher level than the more disengaged franchisees. So it's the yin and the yang. It's the opposite of what success looks like. Is we see that in the negative experience for entrepreneurs as well. For any franchisee, I would always recommend, do not deviate away from that brand that you're acquiring. There's a reason that brand is highly successful. It's a proven business model. Even a 1% deviation here and a 1% deviation there, you're running a different brand than what you ultimately acquired. I tell potential franchisees all the time that I don't want you running your version of Koala Insulation. I want you operating Koala Insulation. When we're able to have those open discussions and truly look at each other as partners, because they're as close to being business partners as possible without actually being business partners. It's a mutually beneficial relationship, and that really builds a lot of trust with franchisees as well, to know, hey, we've got your back and we want to see nothing but success for you. We have the play, follow it.
And Cory, you make it such a great point, because people go into franchising, you think, is because they don't have to figure it out. They have the recipe. You're going to give me the winning chocolate chip cookie recipe that works, and the first thing I'm going to do is go and add raisins to it or something. Then they wonder why they're not doing well. But it's interesting to me, because I know that happens more than we probably talk about.
Yeah, it does, because entrepreneurs are free thinkers. That's what makes us fantastic. And we often trust our gut. I like to trust the gut followed by data, and trust my data, because data and gut will line up. And we know that following the data, following that proven process is the recipe for success. So I don't want to add raisins. I like raisins, but I don't want to add raisins to my cookie.
Like I said, having been in the franchise or side as well, I used to say, if we do your recipe, you're responsible for the results.
Exactly.
We do mine. Which do you prefer?
Shay, I'm going to steal that line. I like it so much. That's a great line.
Cory, we're all in this together.
On that, Cory, how do you, from a leadership standpoint, because there's franchisors who listen to the podcast as well. So for them listening specifically, they're in that leadership role and they see people starting to make their own recipe. Besides just telling them, because people don't really respond that well to like telling them, you got to be at this seminar, you got to do this training, you got to do this. What other things have you seen that just help change the behavior?
The most underutilized aspect in franchising is a built-in peer network. At Koala Insulation, we have regional peer networks. We have performance-driven peer networks as well. In the event that somebody wants to change the recipe, for example, oftentimes it's going to be their first time changing the recipe, but it's going to be our 12th time seeing somebody want to change that part of the recipe. Let me connect you to this franchisee who went down this path. They changed their behavior and saw a better outcome in their business. Let them tell you versus me telling you that, because it's somebody who's in the same shoes. I'm a huge proponent of a peer network and utilizing the peer network for not just franchisee validation. Utilizing the peer network cannot stop there. It has to be utilized throughout the journey of any franchisee.
It's like when someone tells you to do something and it's what your parents have been saying this whole time, but it lands differently.
Exactly.
All that good stuff. So I'm thinking about this now, your ideal person. So who are the people that go, yes, this is a good match for me. This makes sense for me. Is it people in a construction industry? Is the residential? They layer it on.
Every one of our franchisees throughout the United States and Canada and North America, we've had one franchisee come to us with insulation experience. We've had a couple franchisees come to us with construction experience. The vast majority of our franchisees are what we would call a corporate refugee. Somebody who's climbed the ladder in their corporate career and finally have said, enough is enough. I want to control my own destiny. I want to build my own empire versus lining the pockets of somebody else's empire. And oftentimes, those are really strong business entrepreneurs. And what I mean by business entrepreneurs, they know how to manage a team. They know how to manage a P&L. They're good at budgeting. Now, what we need to do is we need to just teach them our industry. And that's the most common type of franchisee in today's world, is that corporate refugee, but we utilize their strengths. You may not be the best sales estimator, but you'll make one heck of an operations manager, or vice versa, right? And hire for your weaknesses and hire for your blind spots and build that team that you can manage.
Is this a brick and mortar?
As locations grow and scale, we highly recommend to have a warehouse space, but it's not required. If they have the space to be able to store a couple rigs and have an inventory of insulation on hand, they can do that. It can be home-based, but the majority of locations have a warehouse, a flex space with a small office and a warehouse. But the good thing is the location of that flex space doesn't matter. We don't have to be on the corner of Main and Main paying extremely high rent because we don't have that storefront. Realistically, utilizing the warehouse as a place to meet and have team meetings, as well as store our trucks and rigs, our spray foam chemicals. They can't get too hot or too cool, so they have to be in conditioned spaces.
It's ironic, and maybe this is just my perception, that you have a product that obviously everyone needs. It is not seasonal, I would think, if people are doing that. But also at the same time, no one drives down the road, sees a billboard and goes, oh yeah, I need some installation.
Yeah. Again, like I said, it's out of sight, out of mind. A lot of people don't think about insulation, but it also means that the vast majority of individuals know nothing about insulation and know nothing about how to install it and such. Insulation really is the epitome of a do-it-for-me business. I'm thinking about this from a homeowner's perspective, not my perspective, right? But not knowing a lot about the product, not comfortable enough installing it myself. So I'm going to call Koala Insulation. We are a full-service insulation company. You mentioned, Shay, that you don't really think about driving down the road and seeing a billboard and thinking you need insulation and such. We have annual marketing strategy, right? By the month, we have a great marketing strategy. Lead generation is fantastic, but I'll tell you that we can always really tell when homeowners get their first heating or cooling bill of the season, because there's that, oh my goodness moment when you're opening up that first bill when the AC's been running for a full month nonstop. It's that moment of, wow, something's wrong here. I need to call somebody. And same with when the furnace turns on. So we have great lead generation for our franchisees throughout the year, but we do see spikes. And generally those spikes are following the first time of getting those bills. But for our franchisees, we focus on that continued marketing effort to continue to drive leads to their business each and every day.
Obviously, that would be important.
Yeah.
You said out of sight, out of mind. So working with many entrepreneurs, being one yourself, this is your moment, your wisdom. What would you want to share with our listeners? You're going, oh man, I wished I could call my younger self and give myself some advice on something.
That's such a great question, Shay. And this is the second time this topic has come up for me today. But I will tell you, it wasn't me for the topic, but I heard this and it rang so true to me, is build your network faster. That's what I would have said. If I could call up myself 10 years ago, I would give myself that advice. You cannot build your professional network fast enough, especially as an entrepreneur, and surround yourself with like-minded individuals, as well as individuals who are already in your industry. Create those mutually beneficial relationships. That I would look back and say, man, how much quicker could I have accelerated? And as a new franchisee, you cannot build your network fast enough. You cannot build referral partners fast enough. You cannot join too many groups like the Chamber of Commerce or BNI. You cannot build your network fast enough, because every single person you add to your network will directly or indirectly benefit you personally and professionally.
I love that.
I often say to our franchisees that I will gladly buy you a new pair of shoes because you wore them out hitting the pavement, shaking hands and kissing babies.
Cory, you're talking to the right girl now. I like nice shoes too. And I like the abundance mindset as well. I will leave this person unnamed, as we talked about, but very early in my career, the financial services industry, there was very much like this. He'd go, hey, why don't you go welcome him? Why would I want to talk to him? He's my competition. And I'm like, well, we can all learn from each other. We get better together. And I like that mindset of we live in abundance.
And Shay, I'm not afraid of competition by any means. I'm a very competitive person, but during the diligence process, when franchisees are looking at the brand, I always recommend reach out to who your competitors are going to be. Have them come to your home. Learn what you're going to be up against. I can tell you right now, there's not a single organization out there that will do it the way we do it. Nobody else can say that they do it the koala way. We're the only ones who can say that. From everything from how we greet our customers to a handwritten thank you letter following the job and everything in between. Nobody else can do that. So I always encourage, find out exactly what your competitor's sales process is going to look like. What are they good at? Where's their areas of opportunity? I love shopping competitors, and I know competitors shop me often as well. You have to learn from your competition directly or indirectly.
Right. Instead of shying away from that competitive aspect, lean into it.
Yep. Cream rises to the top every single time.
And on that note, Cory, thank you so much. I have learned a lot about installation.
I appreciate the two of you having me on your podcast, and I'm open anytime to rejoin you.
Absolutely. When people want to learn more information, look at the show note links, get more information about Koala Insulation.
Awesome.
That's right.
Thank you.
We are proud that today's episode was brought to us by Imperial Design and Display.
Elizabeth, when you walk into a retail store and you see all the products, the merchandise, the racks, all that good stuff.
Yes, everything that distracts.
There you go. That's what Imperial Design and Display does. They're a U.S. manufacturing company, which big for me, all right, made in the USA. They do everything from design, installation to program management. They get it done.
Yeah, and the caliber of brands that they work with is very impressive. Not trying to be a name dropper.
Drop some names.
Here we go. We're talking GameStop, Williams-Sonoma, Best Buy, Home Depot, Caribou Coffee, and some high caliber brands.
Right. And not only do they make it look good, it's functional and they're cost conscious.
Which we love. So we are proud to have them as one of our sponsors for the Built4Profit podcast. That is Imperial Design and Display.
And Elizabeth, I have to give a little shout out. I love a good tagline. They have a good tagline. Let's move at the speed of retail together. So imperialdesigndisplay.com, and click on the link to get more information about Imperial Design Display.
We'll see you in the next episode.